what I used to say is I believe in Israel's right to exist.
Mm-hmm.
I've realized in saying that I'm not sure what it means for any country to have a right to exist.
I totally agree. What does that even mean?
Yeah. Does the U.S. have a right to exist? I mean, it's certainly
wanted to exist.
It came into being. It does exist. I will even lay down my life if necessary to preserve it. But it was land taken from other people.
Exactly.
So does it have a right to exist? I don't think any nation really can make that claim very well. Am I glad that Israel exists? Yes.
Yeah, okay, that's a way better way to put it.
I'm glad that it exists. I think it's important. I think Jews are vulnerable, and it is important for them to have a homeland. I recognize that there's a conflict with a central value that I hold, which is the consent of the governed, which means that the demographics of the state of Israel adjust how effective a homeland it is for Jews. I don't know how to resolve that. I'm glad it's not my job to figure out how to resolve it.
Me too.
But all of that said, my sense is, looking from afar, that the Netanyahu administration's relationship to the population of Israel is a lot like the Biden administration's relationship to the population of the U.S. And as an American living under the Biden administration, those people were not on my team. Those people didn't give a damn about me or anything I cared
Well, actually,
about.
they hated you.
I think they probably
more
did.
precise about it, yeah.
So my sense is the idea that you might want to be supportive of Israelis does not mean that you are supportive of the Netanyahu administration. What's more, I think it's clear that every rational person should hate Hamas for what it is, and it should hate Hamas supporters who know what they're doing. And unfortunately, Benjamin Netanyahu is in that category. I don't know what to do about that, but I see credible evidence that Benjamin Netanyahu cynically propped up Hamas, or argued for it to be propped up in order to divide the Palestinians. Having done that, and then having October 7th happen, means that to me, any violence that needs to be engaged in to rescue hostages or to do away with Hamas cannot be under his direction. I do not understand why he was left in power, being responsible for Hamas in some regard, and then responsible for eliminating them. It's so Anthony Fauci-like. It's almost too close a parallel, right? Anthony Fauci is responsible for the gain-of-function research that seems to have produced COVID, and he's also in charge of protecting us from it. I'm sorry. No, Anthony Fauci shouldn't have been anywhere near it, and Benjamin.
I agree, and I think in both cases, well, certainly in the case of Bibi, I think the system itself, a parliamentary system which Israel has, it's complicated. It's complicated. The politics are so complicated. I've been in and out of Israel a lot in my life, and I pay attention. I don't understand it. I'm sure there are Israelis who don't really understand their system. Maybe that's the answer. He's good at politics.
I think he's very, very smart and very effective. And the question is really, there are two questions. One, is he on the side of the Israeli people? And two, assuming that he's on the side of the Israeli people, is he making a spectacular error that will actually be a massive setback for them? And I would also say, as a corollary of that, it's not just the Israeli people who are jeopardized by his leadership. It's, I believe, Jews in the diaspora. I feel
You're exactly right.
The goodwill that existed towards Jews in the aftermath of World War II is being burned up at an incredible rate. I don't expect to see it return in my lifetime. And I think that's a tragedy. And then on top of all of it, the fate of humanity more or less rests on our ability to stop playing the game that the Netanyahu side is pushing us towards, the lineage against lineage violence. And so I think it is time for the West to reassert itself and its values, to police our own behavior. Frankly, I'm not happy when the United States falls down on its commitment to a level playing field.
I agree.
But that really is the road forward. And in the end, it's better for everybody. In the short run, there are some significant antagonists to moving in that direction.
You probably have no idea where the meat that you eat comes from. Do you want to know? You should know. The overwhelming likelihood is that it passed through a massive industrial processing plant, probably owned by a foreign corporation. It's foreign meat. If that's the case, then you have no way of knowing where the animal grew up, how it was raised, what it ate, what chemicals big food pumped into it to increase its profits, what kind of drugs it was injected with. That's all kept secret, meaning you can never really know what you're eating. That's disgusting. Merriweather Farms is a far better option. It's totally straightforward. Unlike the corporate competition, Merriweather Farms controls its entire operation, the pasture on which the cattle graze, the facility where the meat is packaged in America, in Wyoming, across the Mountain West. The cattle are raised without hormones, without antibiotics, any other additives. Clean American beef. They'll ship it straight to your door, and it's delicious. We eat it here, a lot of it. So go to merriweatherfarms.com/Tucker and use the code Tucker25 for 15% off your first order. You can also save on a monthly subscription if you sign up now. That's merriweatherfarms.com/Tucker. You will love it. It's excellent. I do think what you're seeing here is a variation of what you always see, which is the people who are often in good faith, speaking out on behalf of some group, are not actually serving that group's interests at all.
Right.
At all. And I don't think it's also always cynical. I just want to be charitable. I think there are people who really think they're doing the right thing, but they are not serving the objective they think they're serving. Your description, what you just said, you said you might get attacked for it. On what ground? I mean, what you just said seems so humane and like measured and thoughtful, not creepy, not hateful. How could anyone attack you for saying that?
Well, one, I think as long as you use the rule that those who are not agreeing with me must be on the other side, it's very easy to end up everybody's enemy. And it's crazy. I am, I think, trying, maybe I'm wrong about the reality of the situation, but I'm certainly trying to give decent insight into how Israel can be safer, how the world can be safer, how Islam can be safer. I think it's better for everybody. That's my intent. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But that's the real issue, though. The inability to have discussions because some conclusion is understood to follow from them potentially, and we can't risk that conclusion. Therefore, the discussion is not allowed. That is utterly toxic to the West. There's a reason that the First Amendment is enshrined as our first enumerated right. And I'm a little concerned that the Constitution itself is not up to the challenges of modernity. It doesn't anticipate AI. It doesn't anticipate social media. It doesn't anticipate the ability to study psychology with scientific tools and, manipulate with industrial strength propaganda. But the principle is still exactly right. And I will say, I heard your discussion with Matt Walsh last week, maybe. And I was fascinated by it because Matt Walsh and I are very different creatures. Like, I really am a liberal and he really is a conservative. And I heard him say all kinds of things that were provocative. And I found it absolutely refreshing. Just the idea, that you could navigate those questions in public was a breath of fresh air. And I'm hoping that all parties who are acting in good faith and really trying to figure out how to get the nation and the world pointed in the right direction will recognize that we've lost the one tool that has been useful in this regard, which is the ability to hash things out, to not demonize people for holding perspectives. If they hold a perspective that isn't right, the answer is to persuade them that it isn't right.
So I've been thinking a lot about why that has changed. And I think it's because there's too much lying. And people, or there's a perception, I think there's too much lying. And I think that people can't sort of relax and accept that the person telling them a point of view really believes that point of view. There's less sincerity than there used to be. And, someone like Matt Walsh, or my next interview I did was with Ben Cohen of Ben and Jerry's, who's like totally liberal on everything. But he's liberal on the question of war. And so I completely agree with him. So I wanted to hear him. And I what a nice man. But I just thought the thing that Matt Walsh and Ben Cohen had in common was they're both totally sincere. They're completely sincere. Like, you could disagree or agree or whatever, but they really mean what they say. And I think if you live in a world where the public discourse is this dishonest, when everyone has some weird agenda, you don't even know what it is, but you can feel that person's not being honest, no one can have like a conversation.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. We hope you'll subscribe to it. And by the way, you can hit the little bell on there and get notifications every time we produce a video. We hope you'll do that also.